So, I've just been around Edinburgh this morning. I've got so many things done. It's not even, well, it's time for lunch actually, but this street behind me, this area behind me is actually goes on to Rose Street. That's the pub area I was telling you about. That behind me here is the is it called the Balmoral Hotel, yeah. And this is the Records place. I've just been trying to sort some records. Me and my brother are doing something to get ours a European passport, but more on that later on once it's all done. But the thing I wanted to mention was the fact that I was able to come down here to this government office and get things done within minutes. I walked in, there's no queue or one person was in front of me. I got seen, the lady helped me, I've left. I got here, 20 minutes ago. From deciding to come in here and then getting everything done, it took 20 minutes. Try do that anywhere in London, right? So, the doctor situation this morning, same thing. I mean, I've even got a dentist for tomorrow. I mean, this is how... And we need to improve Scotland, you know? That's not good enough. But what I mean is if we stay under this this UK umbrella, if you can call it that, this UK hindrance, we will become slowly and slowly more crippled as time goes on. It will become like England, and then England and Scotland will both become worse. It will be a race to the bottom. That's why we've got to change that, right? We've got to break free, and it's the best thing for England, it's the best thing for Scotland. Even though England will be poor, it will be better in the long run, trust me, right? Trust me, trust it, said the politician. Yeah, so what I want to speak about now is the lies that will be recycled. So the biggest lies of the previous campaign, maybe I'll just walk this way because this is Princess Street ahead of me and it's a bit too busy. So the biggest of all lies I already mentioned in a previous video was the if you do not vote to leave, or in other words, if you vote for Scottish independence, you will lose your, I like this pub here, Guildford Arms, it's awesome, I'm going to go for a pint soon, but you will lose EU citizenship, you know, citizenship, all that sort of stuff that comes, that's in the case of the people. So that was the biggest fear, uncertainty, doubt, fear campaigning from BBC and friends, right? The next one was that Scotland couldn't use the pound. Again, debunked, not true, complete lies, but BBC and other media kept on peddling it. Because propaganda is not against the law, you can actually just lie blatantly and there's absolutely no recourse. They can get away with just continually using our taxes, because the BBC, you may not know this, the BBC is a state propaganda machine. So I mentioned this briefly before. I said, why doesn't YouTube have a problem with that? How come every time, if you watch an RT.com video, please go ahead and come back here again. Go watch an RT.com video and you will notice the first thing it says, this channel is funded by the Russian government or something to those effects. It doesn't say that about BBC, even though it should do. The difference is in Russia, I don't think you get a TV license bill through the door, and if you don't pay that and you get one of the goons coming round to your house disturbing your peace, you will not get a refund, right? I mean, sorry, I just wondered why this guy parked exactly where I wanted to show you this little cafe, this cute little cafe here. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I got that all wrong, sorry. You don't get a bill telling you need to pay this, or else you're going to you can serve prison time. That is what you do have in the fascist non-state, non-democracy union that is the United Kingdom, the non-country, the country on paper but nothing else. So that's two things. So you got the using the pound, lied about by the media, and now. In Scotland, we actually have three different pounds. They're created by three different banks. We didn't lose the right to print our own money, you see. We had our own banking system, because our banking system is one of the oldest in the world. So you have Clydesdale Bank, Royal Bank of Scotland, but they all got the same colour scheme, and they're all the same size, just the pictures on them are different. That's been created by Bank of Scotland or Royal Bank of Scotland or Clydesdale Bank. They'll just have different pictures, graphics on them, right? So that was the first lie. Now, it's a lie in two ways. One is because we can't use Scottish pounds in England anyway, because most shopkeepers will not allow you, even though it's against the law to turn you down because it says pound sterling. And the other thing, because they couldn't stop us using it. It was already decided in court. That's not true at all. Yeah, it didn't stop. All the newspapers, Sky Television, BBC, ITV, they're all just the same machine, except for one is force funded by taxpayer money. And yet has no warning on YouTube. So, besides the pound lie and the Europe lie, the last one, which is actually quite relevant for a city like Edinburgh, on you go. A city like Edinburgh is the fact of them saying that if you were for Scottish independence, you were a racist, right? That we didn't want foreigners in our country, all that sort of stuff. Well, if you look at what actually happened with Brexit, it's the opposite way around. In what's it called? In the UK, when they basically said they want Brexit, what they want to do is they want to force all these foreign workers to go overseas. So a lot of these crappy jobs and orchards and stuff and farms, and we have a lot of farming in Scotland, are actually handled by foreign labour. So that's good, no problem, mate. That's going to fuck up our economy. It's going to fuck up English economy as well as the Scottish economy, especially ours, because we've got more export. We actually our GDP per person is higher than theirs. For real tangible things, not for the banking sector of fake money printing crap themselves. The smoke and mirrors that is the banking sector, right? But we actually produce things. I think it's 15% of our economy, which is only 7% in England. So that does become a glaring problem for us now. If you look around now, look at the sentiment in Scotland. The sentiment in Scotland has never been get rid of foreigners. It's never been get rid of the English. As I just said earlier on, I'm happy for an Englishman to run our country as long as he lives here and as long as he or she, every decision they make is to benefit the people of Scotland and the country, the environment, all those sort of things. We don't have that right now. The USA, the reason it's so badly run is because the federal government is run from Washington. The people of Washington themselves are disenfranchised because they have taxation without representation, right? I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but you cannot vote in the state of DC because DC is not one of the 50 states, right? So you don't have your state representatives like you do in other states. It's a district, right? District of Columbia. Check it out. So this is the same kind of thing as we have in Britain to a degree. We don't have it's not a federal country. It's not a confederacy. But we do have England calling the shots, and this is why a lot of England's run down, because they don't care about the north of England. Now, unfortunate for them, they don't really have much grounds to break free other than just getting together, rallying together and saying, you know what, we want the north of England to become what it used to be in the Dark Age, before the Dark Ages, was Middle Land. Before England existed, the area was actually called Middle Land. They could try, look, the fact that they've taken back Israel, not taken back, they've taken Palestine and formed Israel in it after 3,000 years of it not existing. You could have grounds to say that Middle Land could exist again, right? Just by the fact that the whole world needs to be split up a little bit more. They were trying to bring it all together so that more people under less power, less volume of power, but more power for each person. When I say that, what I mean is we have the same government in Britain we've had for hundreds of years, yet the population has quadrupled and quadrupled again. So if you look at the world, we have the same problem happening all over the world. You're doubling populations, but you're not having the amount of people that are administered by that government. As a matter of fact, if you take the government of Auckland, the super city of Auckland in New Zealand as an example, when Auckland reached 1 million people, and it's gone beyond that now, what they actually did is they merged all the councils in that city to make the Auckland super city. Some people think it's better, some people think it's worse. I think there's probably mixed opinions, but here's the thing. If you take a whole bunch of old decrepit councils and link them into one modern council, of course it's going to be better for a while. Why? Infrastructure, systems, the structure of staff is all going to be new. Of course it's going to function better. But if you were to put that same money into separate little boroughs having their government rebuilt and modernised, it would definitely function better. Why? Because the decisions they make are for their own neighbourhood. Anytime you have someone with the power, the ability to dictate what happens in a place that's far, far away from them, you will have them making decisions that are not the best for that region. Why? They're not affected. If you poison the land under my feet, it affects the food I can grow. If you poison the land under someone else's feet, well, that's exactly why federations, confederations, all these sort of things are wrong, why they do not serve people, and why what we need to do is move back to some kind of halfway house between what do you call it? Anarchy. And anarchy, the true meaning of anarchy is running your own affairs, individual sovereignty and sovereignty, local autonomy. It does not mean chaos. That was the propaganda that was spread for the last couple of hundred years to actually denounce anarchy as something that was even politically viable, when it actually is. You know why? Because the whole world ran for longer and ran far more successfully, arguably, well, definitely when it comes to the environment, ran far more successful, and definitely when it comes to moral decay as well. The systems run far better under anarchy globally and run far longer, thousands of years running in anarchy. People deciding what they want to do. A leader of a tribe, or someone who was like the fix-it guy, being in charge of all the technical fixing, the irrigation system. Remember, cities like Petra in Jordan had irrigation systems thousands of years ago. Some of these things aren't as new as they seem. We can cut blocks larger than we can cut nowadays, 200 tons with laser precision, and we don't even have these tools today. So don't always think that we've got great technology beyond previous civilizations. Previous civilizations have been forgotten about, and we haven't even bothered to dig them up. We've destroyed things before even bother researching them. So that's what we need to do, is stop not only the decay of morals around the world, we need to also stop the decay of natural and prehistoric civilizations. So we actually find out what the hell happened, and why we become so collectively stupid and so destructive. So I'll leave that there. Actually, I'm just going to revisit those last things I said. So those are the three main things. Let's recap of that. There's the Scottish, the pound argument, the pound non-argument. There is the Scottish are racist and we don't like foreigners argument, because that's not true. The Asian community in Scotland actually put out a video, but it still wasn't enough to curb that opinion. A lot of Polacks and stuff were scared into the fact that they might lose their job, which is disgusting. By the way, if you are Polish or Bulgarian, I don't shit on your country, don't shit on mine. You won't lose your job just because of independence. You'll actually have more work here, because it's BREXIT that's going to kick you guys out. You effing idiots, right? But how disgusting is it for you? It's just as disgusting for my own people to be traitors, but to come to our country and make money, which we're all happy with you doing, you add value to the economy, but to allow those scumbags down in Westminster to continue running our beautiful country at the detriment of our offspring for the next God knows how many generations, you should be ashamed of yourselves. And I'd prefer you don't live in Scotland if that's the mindset you have. If you want to make Scotland the worst place, that means that you are actually against our national security and our best interests. Please F off home. But if you want to come here and be part of it and make the country good for the people that live here, or you want to just immigrate and bring your kids here, raise a family here, well, you'd want the best for the country then, wouldn't you? And you wouldn't look at the short time frame that you're looking at for Scotland to remain under the yoke of England and suppressed and repressed and plundered like it is right now. You wouldn't do that. You'd be a better person. You would say, you know what, if it means my job, but it won't mean your job, because when we stop hemorrhaging all this finances down to London, you will see investment in this country, and the job sector will expand tenfold. Why? Because the money will be there to pay for it. And you know why? Because we've also got, besides the 300 years of lack of investment, we have at least 40 years of Scottish oil production where there's been a definite lack of investment in infrastructure, and that infrastructure still needs to be built. There's been a new road my brother was just mentioning before towards Inverness. I'm from the Highlands. That's the capital for us, Inverness, the big smoke. The roads I showed you this morning in another video between Edinburgh and Glasgow, our two biggest cities, the embarrassingly pathetic small donkey paths that we have there, they will need to be improved. That will be jobs for all people from all over Europe. And you know what, another thing as well, once we're out of the UK, they stop stealing our oil, then that means that Europe gets cheaper fuel, because Scotland is the biggest oil producer. We've got massive oil fields that rival countries like Iran and Saudi Arabia. Yes, that's right. So, but of course, the BBC told us that it was always running out. They told us that in 1979. They told it again last time. People I know were sent home on full pay when they discovered a new oil field. They knew it. They weren't allowed to breathe a word to it. And then the BBC were saying, oh, is it Scotland's oil running out again? Oh, wow, how good timing. This happened last time we had a referendum. And then only days after, news came out. Biggest oil field ever found, blah, blah, blah. We already knew this. They lied to everyone. There's another lie. It's about, so all these lies will be recycled, regurgitated, and believe me, used again. Because they know that there's so many stupid people who believe the first thing they see, and that's going to be BBC or whatever's printed on the rags that are all owned by English companies. There's only one newspaper owned by Scotland, I think, owned in Scotland. So yeah, those are the lies. Watch out for them. They are going to be coming to a YouTube force-fed video near you, because YouTube will feed this propaganda. You know why? Because last IndyRef2, YouTube took part in the propaganda campaign. I'm going to put this link below in this and in a previous video. That I spoke about the fraud that happened for the independence referendum. These things will happen again because these people are not smart. They're just CUNTS, that's all. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. You can see behind me down here, that's the port of Leith down there in that direction. The sea's down there. It was a beautiful morning, and it's starting to get a wee bit overcast now, but the west coast is always a more rainy and glum than the east coast. East coast is a lot drier, even up where I'm from, near Inverness, north of Inverness. It just seems to have a lot more rain in the west coast and the islands and stuff. I think I've said about enough, but yeah, mark my words, you will see the same propaganda, even though double debunked, quadruple debunked, the pound will be in there. And this is what we should be saying is, we'll adopt the euro. No messing about. There's no reason being precious about the pound. It doesn't mean anything. To be honest with you, all fiat currencies are going to collapse anyway. If you actually understand cryptocurrency, they're all going to collapse. But even if you don't believe that, well, even without fiat cryptocurrencies being there, because they can be sent anywhere, gold can't be sent around, we're still going to move back to a gold standard to underpin the banking sector, because the whole thing went haywire after Nixon removed the US dollar from the gold standard in 1971. So, one way or the other, fiat currencies have had their day. The lie that is the banking system, which is one of the only two industries England really has next to war and death because of BAE systems, is the banking sector. It's on its way out. We don't need to protect the pound. It doesn't need to be a fear, even though it's a lie. Even if that lie were true, it still doesn't matter. We don't need the pound. We'd be better off out of it. If you can see how the pound has slid against the US dollar and the euro, it's continuing to slide all the time. Let it slide, let it die. It's the currency of a bygone empire with delusions of grandeur, right? The next one being the other one I spoke about earlier, which is the foreign nationals. Well, look, you're already getting told to leave at the end of this month if you're, well, they're making a concession, but the writing's on the wall. England, England, England. That's what the sentiment is, isn't it? The EDF sentiment. Get out of our country, you're taking all our jobs, blah, 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 blah. Never mind all the horrendous, corporate crimes that have happened. That's a weird place for a Tesla store. But yeah, that will be shown up again. Oh, Scots are just racist, even though I just said what I said about English or Pakistani, I don't care who runs our country, even if the whole assembly was, the whole Scottish government was run by foreigners, I don't care. As long as you live here, you've got kids here, you care about the country. Adopt our country, please. God knows we've got probably 300 years lacking of immigration to contend with. Not to say we need to fill up Scotland, but at least we can do it in a sustainable fashion now. We can grow it, instead of growing it piecemeal, wonky and arse about face, we can start putting in proper infrastructure and prepare the country for the growth that we'll get. Although I hope it's not too much population growth. I hope it's just a growth in the standard of living and you know, those sort of things, the economic status of the country. You don't need to overpopulate everywhere. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you very much.